dark of the night, whispers of deceit.
Shadows dance on the walls.
Secrets they repeat. A shadowed figure
With eyes full of lies.
hiding truths in the shadows where no one dares to pry. Uncover the truth, let the lies come undone. Peel back the layers until the light is shown. Uncover the truth, let the shadows run. Break free from the chains and find the sun. Uncover the truth in the dead of the night, where secrets lie hidden like a whispered bite. Uncover the truth in the dim of the light, where the
You know what's amazing about that song? That's
I love that song.
It's a great song. One of my favorite songs. Doesn't get a lot of
Downloads.
No.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's very specific. You know what I mean?
I think it's awesome. That and the Mambo No. 5 song you made.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a better version. No, I don't love that version. I whipped that one together quick.
I know you did.
I got a good version of it. I'll get a good version.
This is Bloodlines and Betrayal. I'm your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, Lieutenant Colonel David Schumann, Coach Schumann, who is just saying yes to greatness, and he's getting after it right now with a bacon cheeseburger. And I love every second of it. We are discussing a very controversial topic, but it's been requested multiple times: the Duke Lacrosse rape hoax. Yes, the Duke Lacrosse rape hoax happened at a very, very toxic time where even wokeness failed to begin, and was largely created from a media firestorm and people using it to leech on to advance their own profiles. And that's what we're going to get into. And it was
What year was it again?
It was 2006. 2006. Okay. And it resulted in so many, it ruined so many people's lives. It's unbelievable. So basically what happened in March of 2006, Crystal Magnum, she was a student at North Carolina Central University, which is in the vicinity of Duke and North Carolina.
It's HBCU.
Yeah. It's HBCU, yes. She was working as a part-time stripper. She claimed that she recently had started stripping. However, it came out later that she had been stripping since 2002. And she was arrested in 2002 for attempting to run over a police officer in a taxi she had stolen.
Wow, I didn't know any of that.
I did not either. The incident report stated that she was lap dancing at a strip club that evening. So this is basically what happened. The Duke Lacrosse team was on March 13th, 2006. The lacrosse team had a party. Now, mind you, I have been to this place before. My good friend, Brian Baslow. Hi, Brian. Went to Duke, and I visited him twice. Both times I almost got arrested myself. So it's a great place. The Lacrosse House, it was at 610 North Buchanan Boulevard. It was owned by the university, but it was used as an off-campus residence for the lacrosse team captains. So the team intended for the party to be, it was incentive for kids to stay on campus during spring break because they compete, shortly after that. So that was like their last hurrah, but they didn't want people going away. They wanted people to stay together. They could get some working on their own. So they had this party, and alcohol was obviously present. and several players were unaware that strippers had been hired, and only after their arrival they were asked to contribute to the strippers' fee. So a team captain contacted, they're called Allure, an escort service. They requested 2 white strippers. However, the two women who arrived were Crystal Magnum and Kim Mara Roberts. She's now Kim Mara Pittman. They were black and biracial. Kim Mara Pittman was black and Asian, respectively. Before arriving at the party, Crystal Magnum, by her own admission, had consumed alcohol, and she took Flexerol. I don't know if you're familiar with Flexerol, Dave. Are you?
No, I don't even know what that is.
So Flexerol is a muscle relaxant, and it is very strong. Okay. Yeah. So she said she took this. It was Kim showed up. She drove herself, and Magnum was dropped off by her boyfriend at the time. So according to the team captains, the strippers were dancing. A player asked if any of the women had sex toys. Roberts, the other stripper, responded by asking if the player's cock was too small. That didn't go over well. So the player took a broomstick and suggested that she use it as a sex toy. After this exchange, the women stopped their performance. They left the living room and they locked themselves in the main bathroom of the house. So while the women were in the house, it was Siegelman and Finnerty who left, and Siegelman and Finnerty were 2 of the people that ended up being charged in this. It was Colin Finnerty and Reed Singleman, whatever. So they left when this happened. So the captains were obviously upset. They were in the bathroom, and the other players were trying to get them to continue performing. They eventually were half dressed and they left the house. They were going to leave, but the players went out and talked to them. They said, please come in and just continue performing. So they came in, and allegedly Magnum said she was dragged into a bathroom and raped, beaten, and choked for a half hour. Police received a 911 call from a woman complaining that white men had gathered outside of the house where the party took place and called her racial slurs and threatened to sodomize her with a broomstick. And the main issue was most of the party attendees were pissed off. They were expressing their displeasure that the strippers had delivered a very, very short performance despite being paid several $100s a piece to perform. The team captain who hired the strippers, he kept trying to convince the women to go back inside and complete the performance. And then again, when they went inside, they were approached by the player who, again, had the broomstick. And once they saw the broomstick, they refused to perform, locked themselves again back into the bathroom. So by this point, most of the team had left. The house residents, including Evans was another one who was charged. He asked the remaining guests to leave because they were concerned that the noise would cause the neighbors to complain to the police. This has happened several times before. The cops have been called to the house with noise complaints. So when the strippers left the bathroom and the house for a second time, a resident locked the door. So they and the guests who left the house could not return. So now this is what is even crazier. At 1 a.m., while they were attempting to leave the party, Crystal and Roberts called the party goers short dick white boys and jeered about how he couldn't get it on his own and had to pay for it. And one player responded, "We asked for whites, not the N-word." Now, I don't believe for a second a Duke person would ever say that.
Right.
So Magnum got into Roberts' car because, remember, she got dropped off. And they left. Roberts...
One of the most liberal schools in the whole entire country.
Yeah, but they're not going to drop N-bombs. So
No.
Roberts called 911 and reported that she had come from 610 North Buchanan, and a white guy had yelled the N-word at her from outside. And the party ended shortly after. Everyone left the house, including the residents. So police came to the house as a result of Roberts making the complaint, but nobody answered the door, and a neighbor confirmed the party that had ended. So after all this, Roberts, this is what is hilarious. Roberts drove away. As they were driving away, her and Crystal Magnum began to argue. Roberts stopped the car and attempted to push Crystal Magnum out because she couldn't deal with her anymore. When that failed, Roberts drove Crystal Magnum to a nearby Kroger supermarket, went inside, and she told a female security guard that there was this crazy woman who was refusing to leave her car. The guard walked out and asked Magnum to leave. Crystal, she remained in the vehicle, and even the guard said she smelled alcohol on Crystal's breath and said she was under the influence of drugs. So this is what happened. At 1:22 a.m., the guard was the one who called 911 to report that Crystal was refusing to leave a vehicle that did not belong to her, because the guard couldn't technically physically put her hands on her or anything.
Right.
So when the police showed up, they were going to arrest her. And that's when they questioned her. Okay. So Crystal had no ID on her, would not talk to police. She was having difficulty walking. She seemed severely impaired. And they took her to a mental health and substance abuse facility for an involuntary commitment. So this is what I think brought it on. So she gets into this car. She fights with her friend, will not leave. The police basically we're going to arrest her. She's acting wacky. So they put her in the nut ward for an involuntary commitment. And when this happened during the process, that is when she finally claimed that she had been raped. So once she said she was raped, she was transferred to the Duke Medical Center. They did an examination on her skin, arms, legs. Nothing. There was no swelling, no bruises, no abnormalities. There were a couple scrapes on her right knee and right heel. And when asked, she specifically and repeatedly denied receiving any physical blows by hands. And then they obviously examined her further. There was no pain in her back, chest, or neck. There was, however, swelling of her vagina. And Crystal claimed that she had performed using a vibrator for a couple at a hotel room shortly before the lacrosse team party. And this activity or a yeast infection could have caused a swelling. The investigators noted there were no other injuries on her. Okay. So now this is what happened after. A couple hours after the party ended, Ryan McFadden, he was a member of the Duke lacrosse team, he sent an email to the other players. And he said that he planned to have some strippers over, kill them, cut off their skin while wearing his Duke-issued spandex and ejaculating. So his email said, quote, "To whom it may concern, tomorrow night after tonight's show, I've decided to have some strippers over to Eden's 2C." That was his apartment. "All are welcome. However, there will be no nudity. I plan on killing the bitches as soon as they walk in and proceeding to cut off their skin while coming in my Duke issued spandex, all in besides Arch and Tack," which were two of his teammates. "Please respond." Now, this sounds vicious, but do you know that it's a reference to something?
Oh, I know. Silence of the Lambs.
No, but you were close. It's a reference to American Psycho.
American Psycho. Okay, close. Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, American
Great
Psycho.
movie.
What I can't remember the guy's name. He's a famous actor. Christian Bale. Christian Bale plays Patrick Bateman, and he was the one who said that he would bring Phil Collins. He would listen to Phil Collins and cut their skin off and wear it and then nut. So the email led people to assume that there was guilt of the players. And McFadden was never charged with a crime, but he ended up being temporarily suspended from Duke, basically citing safety concerns. And he was invited back to continue his studies. So on March 16th, the day after the party, the Durham Police Department began their investigation into the rape allegations. Now, the problem was, they interviewed Magnum, and then they came to the house, got a search warrant. The team captains who lived in the house, including Evans, gave voluntary statements, DNA samples, and offered to take lie detector tests. The police turned down that offer. They made the investigation public, which was a huge. I'm sorry, it wasn't Knife Long that killed himself. It was this guy. The police made their investigation public on March 15th, which was a huge mistake. Sergeant Mark Gotti, the supervisor, posted on a digital community bulletin board that they were investigating the rape of a young woman by 3 males, and they gave their address, 610 North Buchanan Street. And if anyone saw or heard anything, contact investigator Benjamin Hidman. So between March 16th and March 21st, now this is where the police completely screwed up. They showed Magnum photo arrays so she could identify her attackers. Each photo array contained photographs of only Duke lacrosse players. They did not follow
no other stuff.
No, that was the issue. Yes, they did not follow even the department's own recommended policy of including photos of individuals not regarded as potential suspects.
That's how you know if they really know what they're looking at.
Exactly. You put in fillers. So Magnum Crystal identified Reed Siegelman as someone who attended the party, but not as the attacker. And she did not identify Evans at all, despite seeing his photo twice. So now this is when it starts to get fishy. On March 27th, the DA, Mike Nifong, who you've heard of, received his first briefing on the case from Sergeant Gottlieb and Hinman. Within a few hours of receiving the briefing, this was the biggest mistake of his life, because this guy, I don't know if you remember, he was addicted to interviews and being in public. He gave more interviews. Yes, he gave more interviews. He lied about evidence. When you watch what he says, it's mind blowing. So he gave his first public statement on the case. Over the following week, Nifong, by his own estimate, gave 50 to 70 interviews. and devoted more than 40 hours to reporters. And then after that, he continued to make statements that concerned team members' alleged failure or refusal to provide information to law enforcement authorities. And they were invoking their constitutional right, or consisted of Nifong's own opinions that a crime had occurred, and that it was racially motivated, and that one or more lacrosse players were guilty. So this guy basically goes on a media tour without knowing anything, and he's basically saying these kids are guilty. When they go to the house and they say, yeah, search. We'll give our DNA. We'll take lie detectors. We'll do whatever you want. And they were denied. So now after Nifong does his media tour, Crystal is shown another photo array, again, containing only photos of 46 white lacrosse team members, including members who had not attended the party. There was not one filler included. So she's being shown photo arrays of just the lacrosse team.
That's crazy.
So the photos were showed to Magnum as a PowerPoint presentation with each, and this is the other thing that is wrong. You usually show a photo array in like a 6-pack or whatever. She was shown a photo array with each person presented to her individually, rather than the array of a group being pictured together. So for the first time, Crystal identified photos of Reed Siegelman, Evans, and Colin Finnerty as her attackers. She also identified at least one other photo as being a player who was present at the party, and they investigated, and further investigation showed the guy wasn't even in the state at the time. So on April 10th, an attorney retained by one of the lacrosse players stated that time-stamped photographs existed, which showed that Magnum was already injured when she arrived at the party and visibly impaired. Players' attorneys said that DNA testing by the North Carolina State Crime Lab had failed to connect any members of the Duke men's lacrosse team to the alleged rape. Now, this ended up being a big deal. All right. Regardless, Reed Siegelman and Colin Finnerty were arrested and indicted on April 18th on charges of first-degree forcible rape, first-degree sexual offense, and kidnapping. And the same day, search warrants were executed on Finnerty and Siegelman's dorm rooms. And Siegelman told teammates repeatedly, I'm glad they picked me because I have an alibi, in the form of ATM records, photographs, cell phone records, an affidavit from a taxi driver, and a record of his Duke card being swiped at his dorm. So, DNA Security Inc. was a private company Nifong used to perform a second round of DNA testing. It produced an incomplete report. It contained analysis of DNA found on false fingernails discarded by Magnum in the bathroom trash bin, and concluded that 2% of the male population, including Evans, could not be excluded from a match with a fingernail DNA. And this guy ended up getting in trouble. The director of the lab, Brian Meehan, later testified that pursuant to an agreement with Nifong, he had deliberately withheld information from the lab's reports. So May 15th, Duke graduate Evans, he was also indicted, first-degree forcible rape, sexual offense, and kidnapping. And this is what was the title of the ESPN 30 for 30. Just before turning himself in, he publicly declared his innocence and expectation of being cleared of the charges within weeks. And I believe he was the one who called them fantastic lies, which was the title. So this was the issue. Magnum kept changing her story, and Roberts, the stripper that was with her, in her initial statement had said that she was with Magnum the entire evening except for a period of less than 5 minutes. After hearing Magnum's claims that she was assaulted, Roberts, her partner, called those claims a crock. So on December 22nd, Nifong dropped the rape charges against all 3 lacrosse players after Magnum told an investigator a different version of events, and she wasn't sure of her original story. But I was trying to find the... Okay, so it ended up going, I was pretty sure it went to trial. The prosecution, give me a second, because they were prosecuted, and they ended up going to trial. And the first issue was Magnum gave several inconsistencies in her story. And even the Duke police, the Durham police said Magnum kept changing her story. She was not credible. She at first, she initially told him she was raped by 20 white men. And then she reduced the number to 3. And then she said she was groped. But when she got to the mental ward, she said she was raped. Nifong used this case basically to
elevate himself.
Yeah. He used it because it was a election year, and he talked about prosecuting the players. He said he used it like, we're going to prosecute the players. So during the season, the president basically suspended the team, and they were on a roll. They had a chance to win a national championship. And I believe Duke won a national championship in 2010, which included 50-year seniors from that team. But one of the lawyers that was representing one of the players was none other than Barry Scheck. And
DNA.
if you remember that name,
yep.
Do you remember the name Barry Scheck?
Yeah, of course.
He was on OJ. He was on OJ's team.
He was the DNA expert.
Exactly. So I was trying to get it. I just wanted to. So what happened was they went to trial, and the DNA guy basically said, okay, so after they were charged, okay, so the DNA guy goes on the stand, and he gets questioned on the DNA report by Barry Scheck. And Barry Scheck, basically, he's going over the report and he's looking at it, and he's saying, well, why didn't you mention this? Why didn't you mention that? Like, you only told part of the report, and the only evidence that was provided was on these fingernails, and it excludes everyone except it's 2% of the population. And it was the only guy was Evans. There was a 2% match to him, but everyone else, nobody else matched. So he said on the stand that he was told by Nifong basically to lie about the DNA report. So once this happened, Nifong ended up being off the case, and he asked the state's attorney for a special prosecutor. The special prosecutor ended up dropping the charges. And Mike Nifong ended up being disbarred because of this, because it was a Brady violation. He had evidence that proved their innocence. He was not objective. He was going on all these interviews saying, oh, I have DNA evidence, I have this, I have that. None of it was true. And the one person who believed the players was Jay Billis. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I remember that.
Jay Billis.
I remember that very well.
Wrote a scathing letter to the Duke, the Duke, the board, the president, and the chancellor, saying that, why are we doing this? We're better than this. And he basically put his attorney's hat on and point by point knocked down the case. He's like, you showed her a photo array of only Duke lacrosse players. Anyone she picked was going to be guilty. Like there's no way that's the wrong way to do it. And then he showed the inconsistencies in her story. And then he showed the DNA evidence. And he said, this is a witch hunt. Like, why are we doing this to our own players? And then the coach was forced to resign because of this. The coach got blamed. He ended up resigning, going to Bryant. The three kids lost a year of eligibility. Duke wanted them back after this, and they didn't go back to Duke.
Where did they go? Where did it end up going?
One of them went to Georgetown. Another one went to Brown. I'm not sure where the other one went. But I know they played lacrosse afterwards because they got a year of eligibility back. So
some of them went
then
to
what happened?
Bryant, I'm sure.
Then what happened was in 2013, Crystal Magnum. Now, this is the other thing that's crazy. When this happened, there was somebody, I can't remember if it was Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, who said that they were going to pay for Crystal Magnum to go to college and finish her degree. They were, a lot of African Americans believed her that she was raped.
Much like the OJ case.
It is a lot. The DNA lab, the guy who testified, was fired after admitting that he was withholding exculpatory evidence, and he was told by Mike Nifong, the prosecutor, to withhold it. And basically they also said him going on TV, like literally the guy was on TV every single night, and he was making inflammatory public statements that were prejudicing the jury pool. His conduct was widely criticized as politically motivated, given he was another one. He preyed off the racial and social tensions in Durham at the time, because Durham always had the belief that these white, entitled, privileged kids from Duke are in our town. They can come in and get away from anything. And by 2007, the case against the players completely unraveled. And this is what happened. The North Carolina Attorney General, Roy Cooper, announced all charges were dropped, declaring the players. Now, this is what was very important. He declared the players factually innocent, and he labeled the case a tragic rush to justice.
Yep.
The players were exonerated, but their reputations were severely damaged.
Sure.
They filed civil suits against Duke University, the city of Durham, and other people involved in the case, and they settled for millions of dollars.
$50 billion.
It was unbelievable.
$50 million.
So I was wrong. So the sergeant who led up the investigation, Sergeant Gatib, he was fired, and he ended up committing suicide.
Crazy.
Crazy
case.
Crystal,
I remember.
Crystal
went to jail, right? So
Crystal committed murder.
Yeah, she gets out. She's getting out soon, or maybe
allegedly. Yeah.
This was a case where the media completely.
Oh my God.
And it's crazy how you see years later how the this is when we still trusted the media back then.
But the crazy part was Siegelman and Finnerty were not even at the house when this happened. They had ATM receipts. They had dorm card swipes. They had legitimate evidence that they weren't even there when she claimed to have been raped. So, and it was because the photo array that the cops showed him was wrong. They showed him, like, if I show you a picture of the UConn football team, you're going to pick out a UConn football player.
Correct.
That was the biggest mistake of them all. And the DNA testing was like deplorable. Like, it was worse than the OJ case, where OJ, the case, you can argue that, Furman planted DNA or there was cross-contamination. Right. Here, there was cross-contamination.
Right.
Because there were 1 million people in the house, and they took her fingernails from the bathroom. So how many people use that bathroom?
Crazy.
in a college apartment?
Crazy.
So it's crazy. And this is even crazier. Even after the DNA guy testified and was proven like he didn't tell the whole story, Nifong was still going to prosecute the case. He contended that lack of DNA evidence is not unusual and that 75 to 80% of all sexual assault cases lack DNA evidence. He said it's because rape victims often report delaying days or weeks. Now, okay, I can buy that. But the fact that she changed her story so many times is unbelievable. I mean, I'm looking at it right here. She literally changed her story probably 10 times.
Jeez.
And even one claim she made was that Evans stood in front of her and made her perform oral sex on him. And then previously she stated that Siegelman was the one that made her perform oral sex. So she was changing her story every time she was interviewed. And it just goes to show you, for North Carolina, for the state's attorney general to come out and say he apologized, he said these men are factually innocent, and dropped all the charges. And then Mike Nifong was disbarred because of this. And all the players went to the three guys that were charged went to his disbarment hearing.
Right.
Which I thought was amazing. So, and the reason the coach of the Duke lacrosse team, great guy, Mike Pressler, he was receiving threatening emails and hate calls.
He was the best, and he was the best coach in the country at the time.
He was. And people were vandalizing his property. And he legitimately was terrified for his family. And he resigned. And Duke, how about Duke didn't want him to resign. Duke suspended the lacrosse team for the remainder of the season.
It was disgusting in this whole process. Disgusting.
When you read it, yeah, because MSNBC jumped all over it. ABC, CBS jumped all over it. But I believe that Mike Nifong coming out 3 days after this happened, making a public statement and claiming that he had all this evidence was stupid. And then he admitted this man did 50 to 70 interviews. He devoted 40 hours to reporters and interviews. He loved the spotlight. This, he thought this case was going to make him governor.
Yes, I believe it.
And it caused so many problems. And even, you want to know who else got involved? The Black Panthers.
What?
The Black Panthers stood for Crystal Magnum. They came to Duke and protested outside of Duke University. They had knives and guns. And they claimed that the leader of the Black Panthers claimed they were conducting an independent investigation. And they were going to come on. They wanted to come on campus and interview the lacrosse players. So they were obviously prevented from doing that. But okay, it was Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson promised to pay full college tuition for Crystal Magnum. Jackson even said the tuition offer is still good, even if Magnum fabricated her story. So Nifong ended up resigning as Durham County District Attorney just after he had won the election, and he was actually held in contempt of court for knowingly making false statements during the criminal proceedings, and he sentenced him to a day in jail, which he did serve. And then the final part was in November of 2013, Crystal Magnum was charged with second-degree murder. She stabbed her boyfriend, Reginald Day, who died 10 days later. She said that it was in self-defense, but she was sentenced to 14 to 18 years in prison. And then during a December 11th, we should try to get Crystal on our podcast. During December 11th, 2024 podcast interview, she admitted, I made up the story. It wasn't true. And wanted to apologize publicly. So, as I said, the players each got $20 million from Duke. So Siegelman was the one who went to Brown, and now he went to law school and he works for the Innocence Project. He went to the Emory University School of Law. Finnerty, okay, this is the one I didn't know. Finnerty was the one who went to Loyola College in Maryland, and they went to the lacrosse tournament in 2010. Yeah. And then Evans, he had graduated from Duke before being charged. He ended up going to the Wharton School at UPenn and got his MBA. So because of all this, it completely changed the trajectory of everyone. And then in July of 2014, Sergeant Mark Gottlieb died by suicide. He was working as a paramedic. He he was fired from Durham, the police in Durham. And Pressler,
where's Pressler at now, or is he retired now?
I don't know where he is now. I know that he ended up suing Duke for wrongful termination. He claims that Duke spokesman John Burness had made disparaging comments about him. Duke failed to get the case dismissed, and he got a settlement as well. So it's unbelievable to think in this day and age that something like this realistically could happen. Like, it's scary that it just takes. I mean, it's a he said, she said, but if one person makes like I could go make an allegation against you. I could say Dave touched me.
Right.
And all hell could break loose. Like, I mean, they investigate it, and police are taught like to believe that you're a victim. But because so many people nowadays take advantage of this, that's what leads to like people getting shot and warrants being executed on people who are innocent, and them like not knowing what's going on and killing police as well. That's what's resulted in so much violence. Like we were talking on the show before this about Chicago, and one of the guys I had on lives in Chicago, and he's pissed. He's like, we want the illegals gone, and the mayor is fighting tooth and nail, and he's hurting us. He's like, the National Guard are here. ICE is just trying to do their job,
right? And
he's impeding them from doing it. So the case to me was fascinating because of such a rush to judgment that, my father's a lawyer, and I always hear from anyone I meet that my father is one of the most honorable people they've ever worked with or met.
That's phenomenal.
And I had to testify in a divorce hearing for a guy that I coached with.
Yeah.
And one of the attorneys wanted this on the record. And he said, Steve, is your father Herb Cully? I said, yes. He said, your father's one of the most honorable attorneys I've ever worked with. I just wanted that on the record. And he did that because attorneys are supposed to they're held to the highest honor. They're supposed to do the right thing.
Yep.
They're supposed to protect their client's interest. And if you abuse that power, this is a textbook case of what can happen.
Yes.
And it's sad and it's scary.
Guilty.
It's just scary. It's scary. It's scary. If you get a corrupt DA, if you get a DA who sees a case that he can have an agenda and advance his career with, and he'll do anything possible, that's what scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. It's
so
case.
I thought it was a good one to cover.
Summary.
I thought it was a good one to cover. I think it was a tragedy all around. The three kids, they ended up having to leave Duke, and they did well elsewhere. And yeah, they got their money, but their reputations in Duke. If you go to Durham, people are still pretty divided. People still think something went on or the players were guilty.
Really?
Yeah. Durham is, I mean, I never knew Durham was, had more diversity. I thought it was white primarily because of Duke. It's not at all.
Yes.
Yeah. Durham is not Durham. It's the South. Like, you're really in the South. I never thought that. Like,
Yes.
because my friend lives in Charlotte. Charlotte is not like that. Durham is the South. So there's people that still believe in her. But obviously she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, as
There's
you
no
say.
doubt. She's a
She,
murderer.
she stabbed her boyfriend. So, but yeah, it just sucks that Nifong got disbarred. The kids' reputations were sullied. The parents went through hell. They lost their season. The coach goes to Bryant. The sergeant commits suicide. Like, it's just sad. It's really sad.
Sad. Great analysis.
Yeah. I thought it would be a good one to cover. So, but you guys got practice?
Yep. Until next time, I gotta get running.
All right.
Unfortunately,
Well,
busy.
remember, no, it's fine. Thank you for waiting. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and you can shove them up Crystal Magnum scooter.
What?
Yeah, just,
Try it again. Do a good one.
Okay, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them back at life.
Hey!